You're sitting at the table with your players. Session about to begin. A glass of water between your hands. You take a sip while they chit-chat about their week, but you have to take the floor soon. You take the DM screen and open it. Suddenly, as if by magic, silence. They all look at you, ready to play. What do? Welcome to Creative Contraband.
Welcome to How to Be a Better DM, the show that helps dungeon masters tell better stories and run more engaging games. This is Creative Contraband, where we take ideas from elsewhere and smuggle them into our craft to take it one step further. And remember, all of this is brought to you by Session Zero Studios.
Hello everyone and welcome to this new experiment by the How to Be a Better DM team. This segment for DMs and GMs is hosted not by Justin, not by Tanner, but by me, Danny. And who am I? Well, I have been a semi-professional artist for about a decade now. I have worked in magic, theater and music, so I will do my best to bring valuable stuff from those arts and others to your table. If you like this episode, please leave a comment or reach out to the team through Instagram or an email. The Instagram is at howtobeabetterdm.podcast, so you can send your message there. I also want to give a quick shout out to the How to Be a Better DM team for giving me this opportunity and for the kind words they have given me about this podcast, about my work, both privately and publicly. Okay, so as game masters, we deal with a myriad of things every session. Luckily, we don't need to list them all because we have a framework to work with, it being the 4 pillars of dungeon mastering, as Justin and Tanner introduced a couple years ago. Well, I will talk a lot about the 4 pillars in the future, but not today. Thing is, we have to deal with many things, and many of those fall into the pillar of people management, or table management. They are not quite the same, but sure. Things like scheduling, guiding the turns, constantly grabbing the attention so players don't lose their focus, and managing ourselves, our patience, our attention to detail, etc. All of this on our plate means that we need to use every weapon we have to help us with that. And one of the most powerful is rituals. Before everything, I also want to invite you to listen to the previous Creative Contraband episode. This episode is episode 2. In the first episode, I explain a bit about my perspective on art and DMing, so you will have a bit more context about the segment and about me. And you will also learn about a couple narrative devices, ones that the greatest storytellers in the world have been using for centuries now. Remember, we are trying to create meaningful experiences for our players. So, rituals. I will try to prove a point with a simple experiment. Imagine yourself having a beer, taking a sip from the bottle or the glass or whatever. Seriously, do it. I'll give you a couple seconds so you can picture the whole scene. You're probably sitting, right? And even if you're not sitting, I would bet that you are either relaxing or partying. Probably at a bar or sitting at home. Now, I think there are 2 options. You're either thinking, wow, this guy is good, or, so he's telling me that I probably associate beers with having fun instead of work. What a surprise. Does he want a trophy or something? In any case, I want to take a bigger leap. For most of you, I would bet that there are other drinks you find tastier or better than beer. A freshly made orange juice or Coke, lemonade. Yet when the weekend gets there and you are tired from a long week of work, you want a beer. But why? Why do we want a beer instead of other options we find more pleasing? Well, that's because of the symbolic weight they have. Beers mean relaxing. They mean pausing the world and taking a time for ourselves. And that is very powerful. With rituals, we can trigger those associations. It's crazy the number of things we can do with that. And if you are somehow not sold on this already, give me a couple minutes and I promise you will find at least a couple things for your table. First, we will go through some clarifications so we can speak the same language. We will define rituals in this context as actions we can take to trigger associations to other things using symbolism. These are usually not part of the fiction itself. This is very important. They exist outside of the fiction. Even though similar, rituals and routines are different, in that routines don't have a symbolic weight necessarily. Routines can turn into rituals, but they are not the same in the first place. They are usually designed for efficiency or stability, and rituals have intention. They focus not on what gets done, but on why it matters. For example, I brush my teeth every day, but that is not a ritual, it's just a routine. It's a series of actions I execute just for its functional purpose. Same with many other things we do throughout the day. So the power of rituals is exactly in those associations, in their intention. They carry meaning and we can take that meaning and activate it. Of course, this meaning will depend a lot on your culture, your previous experiences, your age, gender, etc. For those of you familiar with Critical Role, think about how the table reacts anytime Matt Mercer goes, "How do you want to do this?" They know what that phrase means, especially after a long tiring combat. That simple sentence means they did it. It means relief, it means triumph, the success of collaboration over evil. And that makes the table erupt in joy. Let's quickly go over an evening with Kevin, our beloved fictional DM, to see some examples. Kevin is a good DM, but he does doubt his skills a lot, so he developed a routine. He studies the rule set for a couple minutes the day before the session. That can be a bit unpleasant or tiring for him, so he has the ritual of buying a bottle of his favorite beverage for every study session. It motivates him and it represents a prize, a win of his willpower over laziness. The day of the session, he wears his favorite cap, the one his girlfriend gave him for his last birthday. It makes him feel invincible. He walks to his friend's house through the same streets he always does, because certainty makes him feel less anxious. Once he is there, after everyone got some minutes to catch up and everyone is already seated at the table, he takes an old book out of his bag and puts it on the table. A couple players recognize it and stop talking. Kevin sees the excitement in their eyes and smiles a bit. This book represents the equivalent of the Bible in the fictional world they are running. When they all notice the book and are ready to begin, they put their hands on top of the book, look at each other, and whisper a short text, a plea to the gods of the world. After an hour of role-playing, Kevin stands up and turns off the lights. One player gasps, another one claps, and another one says yes between his teeth with excitement and expectation. They all know what this means. It's time for combat. Whenever a player finishes their turn, they ring a small bell to let the next player know whose turn it is, in case they are distracted. At the end of the battle, Kevin goes with the classic, "How do you want to do this?" After all, it works. The whole table is Critical Role fans, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. After another hour of role-playing, Kevin ends in a cliffhanger, as he likes to do. After closing his DM screen, all players stand up without saying a word and take turns hugging each other. It's a very important moment for all of them, not only because it's the way they show appreciation to each other after each session, but also because it is a way of controlling the emotional bleed. It's group self-care. They sit again, and as they always do, they schedule the next session. And they choose the one who will be bringing the snacks next time. Now, it's time to say goodbye. Well, I hope you enjoyed the journey we had with Kevin, our new beloved fictional DM. In this example, you can find a combination of routines and rituals that can serve as inspiration for you and your table. Of course, each table and each set of people have their own codes and practices, so if you're DMing for a company, for example, it would probably be weird and unnecessary for players to hug at the end of the session. Now, after all that, it should be pretty clear what rituals are, what they are not, and how they can be used. But how do we make or start our own? This is a very personal matter, and it can range from taking a moment to breathe without telling anyone, to bringing an object or doing something together as a table. Sometimes they are also spontaneously implemented through the months or weeks or years. But if you want to make some, here are my suggestions. Number 1, use elements. From a simple token to a candle, elements make rituals feel more tangible, more concrete. They can also help you build expectation if the object is shown before it is used, just as we saw in the Kevin example with the book. Number 2, senses rule emotions. If you want to give your ritual a certain mood or vibe, you can explore smells, music, sounds, even tastes if you get creative. For example, if you share snacks while playing, the first chip eaten could mark the beginning of the game, and the one who does the honors can rotate each session. Number 3, have a clear goal. Whether it is to make your players get excited, to have a new quirky inside joke that makes you all feel closer, to make sure that someone is bringing snacks or whatever, you need to have a clear goal. It doesn't need to be a huge one at all, but rituals are defined by their meaning, so it is pointless to have a ritual without a meaning. For example, the East Asian tea ceremony, which is a ritual practice for making and serving tea, has, among others, the goal of admiring the beautiful among the sordid facts of everyday life. In other words, mindfulness. Number 4, don't overcomplicate. You don't want to get tired of it after 2 weeks, so keep it simple. Easier rituals are way easier to maintain, like phrases or lucky charms or dimming the lights, etc. I know I just talked about the tea ceremony, and if you can pull that off, that's great. But there's a reason why that is not more popular outside Asia. Number 5, read the room. If it is something you are implementing alone, like a phrase, a sound, a chant or something, see how your players react and if they like it. If it is something you all agree to do, then make sure everyone is okay with it. So, just to recap, use elements, experiment with senses, have a clear goal, don't overcomplicate, and read the room. The time has come, the time to answer the audience's questions. Today I will answer a question from Hans, who listened to the previous episode and comments. Hi Danny, thanks for the episode, very interesting. Well, thank you for commenting. I have been mastering for about a year now, and I have been applying the Chekhov's gun unknowingly. The problem I have is that players seem to forget about the things I have planted after a couple sessions, and when I bring them up, it just catches them off guard. Am I doing something wrong? First, thank you for your question. This can be a common issue, but it is, luckily for you, an easily solvable one. It is very important to never bring up the element right when you need it, but do it earlier in the same session if possible, or at least hint at its existence. For example, if you're preparing Chekhov's gunman with Superman, who made a cameo 3 sessions ago, at the beginning of the session you can say, So here we are, once again with our party of 5, who have met some quirky individuals along the way. That zombie bartender who gave you some clues, the mischievous lizard kids who were trying to overtake the government, even Superman who somehow made it into this world, and many others with better or worse intentions. Or, if you want your players to use something that seemed useless, for example, like a piece of paper, then you can make a small recap, a couple scenes before the moment when you want the gun to be fired. Like, so finally, here you are, just steps away from getting into the temple despite having been completely stripped from any armor or weapon you had. Now it's just you, your brains, and your bags full of questionably weird items like non-magical rings, those pieces of paper you got in the store, and lint. My favorite approach is using humor when you're recapping, because humor has the surprising quality of making things sound unrehearsed. I mean, I just invented that. But I think it works. It kind of works, right? Well, that comment I just did about inventing the humor, that comment was scripted. But because I framed it as a passing comment with laughs and stuff, it kind of sounds like it just came out of my mouth. You can do exactly the same when you're mentioning your gun. It will be way less suspicious and you will avoid falling into a deus ex machina. I hope that was useful, Hans. Thanks again for your question and best of luck in your next sessions. Let me know how it goes. As I said last week, at the end of each episode, I will leave you with a word or quote that you might know or not, but that I think can help you enhance your inner world as game master. Today's quote is by Bertolt Brecht, German poet and playwright, and it goes like this: "Sometimes it's more important to be human than to have good taste." I believe that good quotes usually hold more than one truth behind them, so I will usually let them speak by themselves, and I will let you do the analysis, but this time I just want to add, remember that we are here for our players. We are here to live human experiences. We want to laugh, to connect, to love. We want to feel nostalgia, relief, expectation, fear, suspense. It's very important to stay human. Don't fear being human. In the same vein, I want to thank you once again for staying until the end. I know it's a cliche, but it really does make a difference. In the end, that's what we make this content for. If you like the episode, please leave a comment or let us know through social media so this segment can keep going. Remember, you will be the ones who decide if Creative Contraband lives on or not, so your opinion is essential. Remember to leave your questions in the comment section below too, because I will be answering some of them in the next week, because there are lessons in every craft, and I want to bring them all to your table. So thanks again, and we'll be back next time with another handcrafted episode, but until then, let's roll initiative.
This is Creative Contraband, brought to you by Session Zero Studios.